because their whole business model was based on ripping people off.
Yeah.
So
That's fucked.
Anyway, so
well, their business model is based on like being a cool company and getting people to work there for
nothing.
little to nothing.
That is
just so they can say they worked for
That
Vice.
is exactly what Henry said.
Yeah.
He said they get these interns and people come and use it, and they work them to death for a couple of years until they become disenfranchised, and then they say, I'm done, and then they quit, but they get the best out of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've talked to I know a lot of people who worked for Vice for a long time. One kid who actually is going to come on here soon, he worked there from the very, very beginning when the guy Shane founded it. And he worked there for fucking decades, and then he just got fired like last year. But they sold the company off to investors, and it's not owned by the original. They cashed out. Now it's just run by who knows who. It's
corporate.
Yeah. What kills me is like, why do that? Why would you do that when like I've got a ton of stories, like and why try and fuck somebody out of like one story?
Because they're taking that and they're on to the next one.
Yeah,
man.
I know. It's
a
mill.
Burning.
It's a mill, right? So I watched the whole episode. You watched the episode. The episode is so watered down compared to my story.
I actually haven't watched it yet.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like it's super watered down. It's very watered down. Because honestly, let's face it, where the commercial, it's only 45 minutes. Like it's funny. It's like some of the stuff that they really focus on. Well, here's the thing: they have a budget.
Wait, you watched it for the first time today after I sent it to you, right? Okay.
Yes. So my whole thing is, I'm watching it. And I'm like, why didn't they talk about this? Why didn't they do this? They could have done B-roll here. They could have done this. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, wait a minute. They have a limited budget. Like they really utilize the interviews. Yeah. Like it's almost all interviews because the interviews are cheap.
Oh yeah. It's like basically it's a guy sitting on a couch like that.
Exactly.
With one camera or maybe two cameras, and they just cut B-roll in.
Right. It's all B-roll.
It's super cheap.
Right. So yeah, it's a super cheap, and that's the whole thing. It's not worth like how do you sue for that? Like, and not just that. Based on that, like to me, I was thinking, well, they didn't. Is that theft of my intellectual property? Like the narrative that I have, my story's so much better than that. That I'm like, I wonder, does that go anywhere? It's just not a great episode on this kid compared to this kid's story. Listen, this kid's got a great story.
What, have you reached out to him at all?
I mean, he and I actually met in Orlando to talk about him signing his life rights. And what happened was when we were in prison, it was 50-50. But he never signed. So when we got out, I said 60-40. And he was like, oh, that's not right. I said, no. I've put in a significant amount of effort at this point. It's 60-40. I said, you had an opportunity. You then he then had a buddy come to me and try and get the story from me when I was in prison. I was like, but I knew. And I was like, I knew something was up. Like, I know you're friends with him, and that's a friend of Diaz's. And I thought, no, you're trying to get the story to send to Diaz. Like, because you didn't sign. Not that he could do anything with. Like, even this thing. Like, I mean, even the Vice thing. You couldn't even do that by yourself. Yeah. It went through me. Like, you're not going to take your story and run and do anything with your story if it doesn't go through me, because, you're just some ex-con who's got an alcohol problem and fixes credit for a living. But by the way, he has called me. Like, that's
what I got a client for him.
Yeah, but I mean, he called. Like, trust me, I wouldn't give him my soch. Like, he literally called me. Oh, listen, the stuff he was doing in prison.
Yeah,
like he would call me several times. When I was in the halfway house, he was calling me on my cell phone, drunk, 11, 12 o'clock at night, drunk, just, what are we going to do about this story, bro? I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Like, So anyway, so I know he wasn't going to do anything with it. So I went out and I said, look, 60-40. And he agreed, 60. He was okay, fine. He was 60-40. And I sent him the contract, and I never got the contract back. And while this whole thing was happening, so it literally in the same time period, this thing happened. And I'm just assuming he's going to sign the contract. We've already agreed. No. But yeah, the episode's watered down because he actually has a great story. You have to admit, it's gutsy. This is a kid who's 18, starts driving around a cartel member, setting up houses, setting up drop houses where they store drugs, starts distributing the drugs, collecting the money, setting up cars to move through the United States to bring drugs to Orlando, and he's flying back. He moves to Acapulco and lives there for several years and starts arranging drug. This is in the middle of the cartel wars. People are dying left and right, and he's an American. Having an American passport and being Mexican American. By the way, he doesn't look Mexican. He looks like a white kid. So he very easily goes back and forth between Mexico. One time he actually got caught with money. The DEA comes in. They take the money. They give him a receipt, and they leave. They don't arrest him because they don't know it's drug money.
Yeah.
They said, but if you can prove where the money came from, you can get the money back. He called a lawyer. The lawyer's like, look, what are you doing? You're saying you made the money doing what? Mowing yards? Like, what are you doing? You're not getting the money back. Like, you'd have to claim taxes. You have to prove where it came from. This is drug money. Like, just walk away.
Yeah.
So he just walked away. Like, he's got a
How much money?
I don't know how many. Was it 100 or 200,000? And then he had to pay back the cartel.
Oh, yeah.
Then another time he gets chased by the cops. He throws like $300,000. He hides it, gets caught, goes to jail. Like 3 or 4 months later, gets out, goes back to the woods, gets the money. He's like, because I can't lose more money. I just lost money. I just paid back the other money I lost. Like, they'll kill me. So he gets the money, goes back. I mean, he's got a bunch of stuff. They're chasing him with helicopters. He has some great stuff. And this is the thing. Like, a lot of these stories, like, it was like, that seems far-fetched. But then I would get the police report in.
Yeah.
They chased him with the helicopter. They even charged him for the helicopter fuel. So, he's got interesting stuff. And he does. He's traveling back. Then I read the transcripts. Listen, the FBI, DEA agent? The DEA agent on the stand made him sound like he was a huge drug dealer. Like he was practically a member of the cartel.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a great story.
Yeah.
It is a great story. The problem is the Vice version sucks.
Yeah.
So
Not impressed.
No, I wasn't impressed at all.
Yeah, none of their new stuff really sucks. None of the stuff they're doing right now is any good.
Is it any good?
Not that I think. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I've only seen I've seen two. Actually, that one and another one called The Queen of Meth or something like that, about some.
The Teenage Felons one aren't that bad. We had that other guy on here that had an episode on there.
Oh,
Brian
yeah.
Or something.
The problem is, like, if you just watched the episode, you'd probably think, man, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But if you read my story and then watch it, you're like, that sucks.
Yeah.
What other stories do you have out in the market right now that are that have interest to like become films or documentaries?
I mean, like Boziak's, I can't talk about, but it's great. That's going to happen.
Is it going to happen?
Oh, it's definitely going to happen.
Really?
You saw the sizzle. I showed you the sizzle.
I saw the sizzle. I actually, I don't think I saw the sizzle.
Oh, bro, I got to show you.
Do you have it with you?
Yeah, but I can't play it. Like, if Henry even knew I had, even if Henry sees this, he's gonna be like, "What?
Wait, who's Henry?
Henry Roosevelt, the guy who I can't even talk about this.
Is
Danny,
he on the production company?
Yes.
Oh, have they sold it?
Look, what are you doing? So anyway,
we don't have to tell details. Who cares? No one,
bro, because they freak out.
You don't have to say who it is.
They freak out. I mean,
this is alleged.
They don't watch this.
Bro, they're gonna watch this. They're gonna watch this.
They don't watch this. Nobody watches this.
Everybody watches Concrete.
No.
Talking about. Listen, every time I get recognized, the first thing they say is, "I saw you on Concrete." And I'm like,
they're talking about the first episode, not the fucking 18.
Oh no, yeah, because nobody watches any of these anymore.
Everybody's gonna watch it because Danny's gonna title it "Vice Scammed Matt Cox."